I'm Ryan Milliken from Hardway Performance, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
I'm Dimitri Miller with No Zone Diesel.
This is Anthony Reams from XDP.
This is Jaron Holder from Holderdown Performance.
Corey Willis from PPEI.
I'm Drew with D&J Precision Machine.
I'm Pinky.
And you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
Diesel Podcast.
You're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
The Diesel Podcast. The one and only Diesel Podcast.
What is going on, Diesel Nation? We want to thank you guys for joining us today and all the iTunes reviews that you guys are giving us. There's so much great feedback and requests for guests, and that's exactly where today's episode came from. Is we got a 5-star review on there, and a gentleman wanted to hear from today's guest. So we're going to be talking about 6.4 liter Powerstroke Performance, a really fast race truck. You guys are going to love it. Before we get to it, we wanted to thank BD Diesel for helping make this episode possible. They've got a really cool product with the 48RE tap shifter. You need to go to dieselperformance.com, and it's an innovative product. It installs clean, and you can basically upshift and downshift your 48RE right on the column, so it looks factory. And also Dan's Diesel Performance. Dan's has a ton of Duramax drop-in turbos, so if you want to get some more airflow, make some more power, lower your EGTs for towing, things like that, it's basically just a drop-in turbo. There's not a lot of crazy things you need to do with it. You can install it, over the weekend with your buddies if you want to. Go to dansdieselperformance.com and you can check out all the turbos that they have for LB7 to LML. Taylor, I am glad to have you on the podcast today. You were requested on iTunes. You've got a fan out there that wanted to hear about your race truck.
That's awesome.
I like to start right at the beginning. What year truck is it? How did it start out? Was it, say a purpose-built race truck at the beginning, or did you kind of through time, that's where it ended up?
Well, actually, it started out, I started out with a 450, and then it was just too big, so found a regular cab, local, just to play around with friends on the street. So it didn't start out as a race truck. Kept it tuning exhaust for the most of the beginning, and then whenever I decided to actually build it, it went full race truck. Not to the extent it's at now, but there wasn't really it's not like I went to tow powers. I went straight 475 and 4R.
It's a 6.4 truck.
Yeah,
right?
6.4 Powerstroke, yeah.
What kind of times was it running before you went full race truck?
It started out at an 8 second in the 8th mile with just a tuning exhaust, and then it had 3 stages. It had practically stock, and then I had a local shop, Customs by Biggin. He actually built the cage in it, and we went to cow tracks and front 4-link. And it got down to a 609 at 119 miles an hour, I think it was. So that's what it was running before it turned into the truck it is today.
You've got some really cool pictures of the truck on Instagram, and it definitely has the race truck look to it. Can you tell us how that process began, what turned it into the race truck, and what kind of power, what kind of times are you running?
So it started out, I've been wanting to go faster for a little while, and the truck was just heavy. Fords are heavy in general. I mean, it weighed 6,480 pounds, and that was, as it was cut up. It still had a full bed, but it was cut up for 6,480 pounds. And it was just, for the amount of power I had to work with, weight was really my only option to go faster and for it to stay together for any kind of extended period of time. And I was pulling back into my house one night and did a burnout in my driveway and didn't know about it till the next time I cranked the truck up, and I broke the low-pressure fuel pump gear. Brought it back to my shop and tore it all the way down and started talking about what I was going to do with it, and ended up taking it over to one of my friend's shop, Customs by Biggin, and dropped it off there for him to start on. And it was built for the ODSS Pro Street class. So, I mean, it's a 4,500 pound minimum. And at the time, the rules were kind of up in the air as far as what was allowed. So it's going to keep the stock cab, cut the frame behind the cab, and just do like a rear four-link and then a front four-link underneath the original frame. And then as the build went on, we learned that we could cut the front end of the frame off. So that's originally how and why it started.
On the power side, did you change anything up from before with the air and the fuel, or?
We went from before we were originally running a T4 475, and we went to T6 475. But as far as air and fuel, that was the only change. We deleted the intercooler, so now we just run straight nitrous to cool it off for intake temps. But it's practically the entire same setup. We went from a full harness down to running just the ECM, so that was a headache. As far as power setup goes, what was working before, we kept it the same.
On the engine, what kind of engine work did you have done to keep it all together going down the track?
First thing I did was did away with that factory low-pressure oil pump. I went to a dry sump setup on the side. Went to deleted the front cover on the actual motor, feeding the oil, I'm going to guess you could say the oil galley, straight from the front. So we don't have any of the people that know a 6.4 Powerstroke. It's got the oil to water heat exchanger in the front. All that's gone away. That's just got a entire block-off plate up there. We don't even use any kind of delete plate up there anymore. We actually went on the front and tapped the oil supplies on the front just to keep a constant and non-restrictive oil flow straight to the front of the motor. And that was actually the only other changes to the whole motor that we did. I mean, I knew what worked before. I mean, I kept a whole season running in the upper ranks of horsepower-wise in the Ford world, so I decided to keep it the same practically. It's not, for me, seeing as I don't own a shop, it's all for the fun and the sport of it. So, I mean, it ain't no fun if you're rebuilding motors every week and putting new motors in it. A little too costly and ain't no fun. So whenever you can unload it off the trailer from one race and do a little bit of servicing and load it back up a couple weeks later and go race again, that's what's really fun.
So it still has the stock rod, stock pistons?
Oh, no. It's got some R&R rods in it currently. I'm switching back to some Carrillos, and then it's got some diamond pistons in it, forged pistons in it. But those were in it from the previous motor.
Oh, okay.
I got all the same ones over onto this motor. But stock heads, had coated heads before, but that all flaked off, so didn't see no point in going back and fix 4 heads crack anyways. Aftermarket push rods, aftermarket valve springs, everything else in the heads, all stock. Just a set of cheap ARP head studs, factory Ford gaskets. It's really, I mean, I got a set of custom log headers, but other than that, I mean, it's really a basic motor for what it is. I got a HED engine that's right here beside me in Mooresville. He does all my engine work, and he's got the clearances set right, so I've never had problems. And I'll go ahead and I'll assemble the motors my way, and it works. for how basic and what I see other people do and all the work they put into their motors. I mean, I've been lucky for the way I do things and for them staying together.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that consistency that you talked about it's so key. Like you said, when you don't have a diesel shop, it's like you can just pull it in and work on it there, or have the guys work on it and make sure that it's serviceable and stays together. Let you go race more.
Yeah.
You mentioned a 40100, so you did a 40100 swap in the truck.
Yeah, I ran from Twisted Diesel up in Chesapeake. It's actually, I originally ran another company's back whenever I originally built, when I went back on my white truck. Some people remember it. Whenever I originally went to a more race truck kind of setup, I swapped in the 4R100 because I never had a built 5R in that truck. Went from a stock 5R to a built 4R. And whenever I originally did it, I had somebody out west build it, and just nothing's going to stay together forever. So whenever I can pull out a transmission and send it somewhere more local, it was a no-brainer. And Charlie Keeter turned me on to Rave Brown and Twisted Diesel up in Chesapeake, Virginia. So decided to start going with them, and it was honestly the best thing I ever did for my truck. Way more consistent when you can talk to the guy building your transmissions, and everybody else has problems with input shafts. Everybody else has problems with keeping the transmission together. And other than my fault changing different turbo setups every now and then and burning up front pumps from hot lapping, I've never had a problem out of my transmission. So that's definitely makes a more enjoyable weekend whenever you're not replacing transmission.
Now the grand question is, and then the gentleman on the iTunes review had talked about how quick your truck is. So I wanted to ask you, what times is it running, and you think you got more in it? And if so, what are some ideas that you may have to maybe go a little bit quicker?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely got more in it. Everybody always talks about Tune 1, Tune 2, Tune 3, Tune 4, Tune 5. Well, I mean, us dumb Ford people, we only have, well, they call it whatever, tow and street and performance race, whatever. Well, whatever it is, I'm only running like a 2.0 pulse width tune right now. Just trying to pull fuel back just to keep the EGTs down. Spray it enough to cool it off. So I've still got plenty of fuel left, and I'm still, even though it's barely hazing going down the track, I mean, on the tune that I'm running right now, I mean, I still have more power in that. And if anybody's ever seen my nitrous setup, I mean, I'm running probably a tenth of what I could spray the thing if I wanted to. So plenty of power left. I don't know exactly where the cutoff is for a lower end on one of these. Probably only running about 1,300 horsepower right now. Don't know exactly how far I could push it and keep a motor together consistently, but in the class for Pro Street, so far I've ran, I thought I was down a little bit lower, but I was actually at 4,200 pounds, and I ran a 5.15 at 134, I want to say it was. So I weighted up because I don't belong in Pro Mod. I deserve to be in Pro Street. It was what the truck was built for. It's practically going to be a 5.0 index with Levon leading the way, but by my calculations, I should be able to fit right in there, and hopefully I'll be able to stay consistent low 5 at 4,500 pounds is the plan.
It's so cool to hear, about you guys and the times that you guys are running, and there's still more left in the trucks, but just how consistent they are with everything, and it's almost like the power levels are great, but then how do you get it to the track and how do you consistently do it? Is there a lot of time that goes into the chassis and the suspension and that side of it to really harness the power that you're making?
It's one of them things I've been lucky with. You can never be, one person can do a lot of things, but if you get a lot of good people around you, I would rather have a bunch of smart people around me than be decent at everything by myself. So I've got Customs by Big, and actually last year he set my truck up in the parking lot at Rudy's, and then he did a little bit of fine tuning a couple weeks later, and I have not touched the suspension.
You are lucky.
I am extremely lucky. He hit it dead on back then. So as far as I've had to work with tire pressures to get it to go down the track and keep it smooth on the top end, kind of folding the tire within the 60 foot, but I'm not complaining about consistent 119, 120, 60 foot. So just getting it done up front and staying together on the back end. If I could get myself lined up a little straighter on the starting line, I'd be pretty straight going down the track too, I hope. But it's been a handful so far. But for the truck for decent power, the truck's got less than 20 passes underneath it. So, it's still in its early stages, and as far as actually putting the power to it, it's going to be a growing. I just had it, just add some weight to it. I'm going to be coming out at Pro Street here at Rocky Top next weekend. So, got to do some testing, and I'm sure we've got a couple modifications between here and then, but I've been lucky for my suspension setup for sure.
Almost to step back for a second is, it's the truck. It's really cool what you've done with it, and like you said, having that support network and team around you to be able to reach your goals, and save time and have a nice, reliable setup. So you're not always having to fix things. But how did you get interested in diesel performance or just driving a diesel? Was it through work? Was it something you saw, through, forums or social media or something like that and thought, I want a diesel?
Yeah, back in the day, I grew up around construction. My father owned a construction company. So we worked, and my favorite thing as a kid was to go out and work on the equipment. So I was always interested in diesels, and getting the truck was just the first step of that, as far as for what I own myself. And then you always have friends that are pushing their vehicles, and so you start getting a little faster, and then I actually took my Gawley, my 450 back in the day, to Aaron Rudolph's shop back whenever he was still in a gas station, or it was like an old gas station lube set up off of the side of the highway. Took it up to him, and we got it tuned and deleted, and went to the beach that weekend, and just kind of grew from there.
It's funny how our friends push us to spend more money on our trucks, and then one day it's something you trailer and take around to different race events.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't. I've mentioned it several times. I wouldn't be racing if it wasn't for friends. Like McCoy Black, that's where I've actually got my truck at now, and it's the the friendship whenever you show up to races and you can stick around and have fun with everybody's there. It's practically the whole reason I race. I mean, you work on these trucks. I mean, all the competition, hundreds of hours just to run down the track for 5 seconds. I mean, you do it for all the companionship's not going to be a good word, but all the friendship beforehand is where it really does pay off.
For sure. And you get to celebrate it too. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so you've got, you know, friends and stuff, and you travel, and then, you know, that team atmosphere is what I think pulls all of us in, you know, even if they're not race trucks, even if just taking it to testing tunes or something. And you get to go with your friends and you know, have some fun with the truck, and then, you know, have a friendly rivalry with the guys you're competing against.
Mm-hmm.
So Rocky Top that event has grown so much. That's where it's going to be next, and then after that, where do you plan on taking it?
I mean, honestly, I don't even remember which one's next. I don't know if it's Shides is next, or I want to say Shides is next. Is the next race at the end of, because we had a 2 month, or I think it was like right at 2 months off this time, and I think it's only going to be the end of next month is going to be, I think, Shides. So I'm pretty much hitting up the ODSS circuit, and then I'll be going up there to Fueled by Haters event up it's Diesel Truck Wars, and it's up there at Northeast Dragway, and I want to say it's in October, maybe it's in November. I think it's the first week of November, and that's honestly all I have planned for this year. I'm so busy at work, it's kind of hard to get away from.
Plenty of opportunity for diesel fans and Ford, you know, 6.4 Powerstroke guys to see your truck go down the track. And that's what's the coolest part of all of it, is to actually see these vehicles go down the track. And it's, you know, sometimes up in the stands you think, oh, well, it was easy to get it there, you know, it just took a little bit of time. And there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that go into it, and a lot of people involved. And it's cool to hear you talk about that and how much effort goes into it. And it's, you know, the passion, the excitement, the friendships, the times that the guys like yourself put into these trucks and what they're able to do.
For sure. Yeah, it's, I mean, you definitely don't do it for the work part of it, but it's, you definitely have something to be proud of, hopefully, by the weekend.
We're going to keep our eye out and definitely look forward to seeing what you do at Rocky Top and Shides. And it was cool hearing about your truck and getting a rundown on it. And
for sure. And I mean, anybody who's listening to this, I mean, just come up and introduce yourself at any race, and there ain't nothing secretive on the truck. Anything you want to look and talk about, just come up and talk to me. I don't bite, I promise.
That's cool, Taylor. We appreciate your time today. Tell us about the truck, and wish you the best of luck on these next couple races you got planned.
Thank you very much. And just shout out to MB Diesel and McCoy Black for always helping me out all these late nights lately, and thank you to Rudy's for their help lately on several parts for the truck, getting it back going. Up to Eric Yost at Customs by Biggin, Rave Brown for Twisted Diesel, for getting the transmission back that I burned up this past year at Truck Wars, with a couple new provisions hopefully we could talk about soon. So I think that's it.
Don't forget, diesel fans, make sure and head on over to dieselperformance.com and check out BD's 48RE tap shifter and a ton of other products they have for 6R140s, turbo kits, any truck you have, Duramax, Cummins, Powerstroke, any year, they've got products for you. And also Dan's Diesel Performance and their really cool drop-in turbos. They make a huge difference. So if you've got like a max effort tune, lift pump on your Duramax, want to take it a little bit farther, these drop-in turbos can help you get there. Until next time, keep the shiny side up.